JEFF-DERVECH with Dervech Real Estate here. I have Eric Adams and Adam Woodruff with Schutz and Bowen, correct? That's how you guys say it?
Yep.
We're here at the 2018 ICSC West Florida Idea Exchange, and we are here to talk about the legal world of commercial real estate. It's a very, very unique environment right now. You have retailers that are in the business of expanding, a lot are contracting, and a lot are just trying to get out of the business. What are you guys seeing on your side as it relates to, a lot of the grocers and trying to work out leases and stuff like that, and they, have term left on it, and they're thinking about shutting down? Are you guys seeing any of that in your world?
You didn't say the WinDixie word, but I would imagine that was probably at the back of your mind. A lot of folks are looking at their balance sheets and looking at what's going on in their shopping centers and their portfolios with what might happen with the WinDixie bankruptcy, because that could be earth-shattering.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Perfect. Yeah, just take some video of some of the tables and pictures. That's awesome.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Welcome.
I haven't seen you since the Y when I used to actually show up there.
It's crazy. Just with them being the latest is really, as of 2 days ago, they've been in the works of closing down or trying to, shutter stores. But
you're talking about WinDixie?
WinDixie, yeah.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, good to see you.
I have a couple clients that are developers, and they own a couple big boxes, and they're looking at these things like what's going to happen. But a lot of them, believe it or not, are actually located in very, very good markets.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're not too concerned about backfilling, the space, and they think that they actually have some value there.
Yeah, I think of one location, it's a prime location on Swan in Tampa, not too far from the Crosstown in Hyde Park.
Right.
It's a high-end, super high-end WinDixie, and if they were to go into a bankruptcy and that store would end up shuttering or closing, I can think of a number of folks who'd like to be inside of there. I don't know. I don't have personal knowledge about folks who want to be inside of there, but I think about when Albertsons down on Gandy and Dale Mabry shut down. Publix jumped all over that to spend millions upon millions of dollars to redo it, and Britton Plaza hasn't missed a beat.
Right.
And so, I know it's not very far away from other Publixes, but I've heard their model of their goal is to drop them in every 5 miles or less, and they certainly have enough disposable income in that area to make that. So I don't think it's folks like that worry. I think it's the ones that are in the small rural towns where you're wondering about if somebody else is going to come into that space or that spot.
Right.
But WinDixie has such a long history. I bet you that if they do file, it may be a rework, and they may find their way out of it. Because they've got a lot of good spots. They've spent a lot between the cash and carry suite base / WinDixie merger. They've got a lot going on. So I'm optimistic or hopeful that despite their financial troubles, maybe it'll be a reorg and they'll come out of it on the other side. But who knows? That's where the creditors' rights lawyers come in when they are dealing with those things. And we represent people all the time who, let's say, for example, that a large creditor files bankruptcy or a large debtor files bankruptcy. We'll represent the creditors on a regular basis to come in and either fight over a plan or fight over what's going to happen to assets, or fight over secured and unsecured claims, and do all that sort of stuff.
And Eric nailed it. I think that's where it's going to end up as well. I think you're going to see WinDixie in some reorg or some bankruptcy plan where, landlords will have to approach, mutual clients that we have, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Right.
It's a lot of space.
Right. I mean, growing up, and I've only been in the business for 8 years, I thought, you have a deal with WingDixie, or you have a deal with the national credit tenant, you didn't have to worry about them going out of business. If they did, they had the lease in place. But from, when that gets thrown into bankruptcy court, it's a whole different ballgame at that point, right? I mean...
And I've represented some national shopping center owners, and I've also represented some national retailers, and sometimes they'll have to make these business decisions. There's this one down in Estero called Anna's Linens.
Right.
And they're not huge, but they're big enough to where they've got 150 stores nationally, so it's not chump change. And they were down in Estero, and they were operating at a loss. They weren't getting the traffic that they needed, and so they made an economic decision to break their lease. And there was, all kinds of fights about, what the landlord had to do in order to relet their premises. Well, they decided to breach their lease the same time that Estero brought on another phase of development. Mm-hmm. And so here you find yourself with a tenant that says, okay, you've got an obligation to relet my premises, and they've got a whole new phase of completely empty stores, a brand new space that other tenants are going into. And it took them a heck of a long time, but it was either pay a little bit on the acceleration and the term of the lease, or sit there and continue to lose money in a store as you operate. So it was either a big hit on the economic decision or a slow bleed if you're going to operate at a loss. So
Right.
sometimes you got to take your medicine.
And there are some retailers now that are, from what I've seen in leases that I've read on new deals, that they're including brand new build out space. They're said they're going to do a 10-year deal. At 5 years, they want a kick out clause. 60 months, they want a kick out clause. And you as the landlord, you've put a lot of dollars into this building. You've paid tenants. You've participated in tenant TI dollars. And they're saying at the end of a 5-year term, they want the option, or they're trying to negotiate the option of these leasehold interests or to these lease obligations to be able to terminate their obligation with the landlord. What are you guys seeing? Is that common right now, or?
It's common right now for the landlord to want. So, in 2018, leasing landlords have more power than they did 5 years ago. So what we're finding is the bigger the tenant, the more so, you're in a shopping center and you've got a Publix or a big anchor, the landlord can't get away with that. They want the big anchor tenant or whoever that may be come into the center, and that's what attracts the other clients. The other tenants, the smaller, we do a lot for a local fitness center that is expanding nationally. They only need 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, so it's not uncommon for landlords to try to put the 5-year kick-out clause. They want relocation rights, everything, and now they're actually getting those. And it's just with demand. There's other people.
When the market was soft, it was a tenant market. Now the market's getting hard. It's a landlord market. So.
Can we take a step back? What is the fine line of this? What are you dealing with?
It's a topic that for a title to our session that was given by somebody other than us, and it really just means sometimes there's a fine line when you're dealing with legal fights on either side of the equation, and so we don't have anything we're presenting on. We're really just here to have an open discussion.
So Bill,
Eric and I know each other.
Oh, great.
Because we did a mobile, I think it was
Exxon Mobil, yeah.
And we had some kind of personal injury or something out there, right?
It was an injury, and I can't remember where the store was, but you helped me out from a design and architecture standpoint, right?
It's interesting because I think that's the first one I ever did.
Okay. Have you done a number since then?
About 200.
Yeah, you're Dervech.
Good.
Yeah, we're to 25 states now.
It's a shame that you did such a good job on the one you did. Maybe I should have looked for some sort of profit sharing.
Yeah, but I know Adam because of the fact that we worked on a mixed-use development, and a point you made, Adam, which I never forgotten, which was kind of a ULI thing, was
That happens a lot with my personality.
we didn't want to drive anybody off.
What was the point, though, that Adam made that you've never forgotten? Because I want to write this one down. This is a good one.
There's a big debate about mixed-use developments, about stacking them or separating them horizontally. And Adam made the point, and the thing we did under construction now, that for them to stack the residential and retail was a potentially very risky thing to do from a legal point of view. And this is a big topic today.
How's it going, Brian?
Good. Urban Land Institute, they're pushing to have this new urbanism thing where they stack uses vertically. And we've gone in and it's really kind of cost us some money, to be honest with you, when we advocate that they separate things horizontally from a liability standpoint.
Right.
But I couldn't agree more. We got a lot of density on that site, and I think I think it's going to be pretty successful.
It's going to be a great
project. Have all the headaches of stacked retail and residential. And if you try to make this point at ULI, Urban Land Institute, you get booed out of the room.
What's the downfall? What's the downfall to stacking?
It's a liability issue.
Liability issue.
So, but in particular, this project, they have got two phases. They've got townhomes,
Right.
And then they want to add a commercial piece. The commercial piece, how many square feet was it?
It's only about like 7,000 square feet. The city really likes the idea of putting a mixed-use development, retail in the front, and townhouses in the back. It's really only a half acre, so we got an incredible amount of density because the city's all these cities that advocate urbanism, they're going to give you all kinds of waivers. They're going to relax the parking requirements. They're going to relax setback requirements. They're going to relax just about anything they can do because you're doing something that's mixed use. But then they will advocate stacking the uses, and that's where.
And you're saying that's a liability. I thought you were
shared uses. We were getting into how who's going to maintain the associations. You've got the end users for the townhomes were probably right out of college or potentially college students putting. So there was a lot that went into it outside of legal analysis. But
Like if there's an assessment that's needed, who pays for that?
Correct. Exactly. Parking. So there's two totally different issues. One wants it to bring friends and guests, and they've got garages. The other wants the shared parking for the business. Who pays for that? Exactly what you're saying. There's an issue. Who pays for that replacement?
I think you ought to write a paper on just do a seminar on it. I really do, because it is a big, huge topic today with mixed use development. And people that are touting mixed use, there's always this big debate about separation of horizontal versus vertical on the site.
Right.
And they never consider your point.
It's the desire to go.
I'm not kidding you. It's true.
I believe
We do in business because we're worried about the same things you are. And frankly, it's simpler construction. But when you're dealing with city officials and you're going for RFPs, like Margate was a city that I went in with Chuck Taylor and Madison Marquette, a joint venture, and we won the RFP basically. And then we got a lot of pushback from these ULI people, these staff people who want to stack the uses. And Chuck was saying, look, that stuff's not leasable under the footprint of the residential. And not only that, we don't want the liability. It's pretty much echoing your point of view. And they threw us out because they said that the solution was suburban. So we brought DeBartolo in, and the same result. It was like, where did they get this in their head that they want to make these places look like New York?
Right.
When the densities and the cost of construction don't justify it, but when you add your factor to it, which is liability, I think it's a non-starter. But don't say that to people at the city.
But isn't there liability with anything that you go vertical? If you're building a tower, right, in New York City, and you're doing it half, first couple of stories are multifamily, and then above that you have office. I mean, isn't that the same liability that they share?
I don't know. I mean, again, it's Adam's point. I mean, your points I had never thought of for legal points.
In New York, I mean, I would just, if you're sitting down with a client, I would go over it's the project, right? New York City's not Margate. It's not the area that he's referring to. So those are the business decisions they'd have to make. You don't have the land.
So you're saying the difference of the parties that are doing a project in New York on a vertical skyscraper where there are different components, where there are different condoed out.
Well, and I also think it's a matter of also the difference in resources. In New York City, to find a lot that is a 200 by 200 lot, it's a scarcity. In the Tampa Bay market, to find a lot that is a 200 by 200 lot, you can have your pick. Not necessarily, your precise location you want, but I don't think land is as scarce here, which doesn't necessarily create the necessity for the vertical.
So you're saying
I think it's an agenda the government has. I'll give you an example. I just went down to Fort Lauderdale in Broward County with 80 Boulevard. We're going to do a senior living thing, and they're going to give us all kinds of density bonuses if we stack the residential over the retail. If we take the retail out of the footprint underneath the residential, they don't give us any density bonuses or anything. So there was an agenda, to push this idea of stacking uses. I'm telling you, the city has it, and they're getting it from different organizations.
So you're saying that
they don't consider the legal ramifications of all this. It's not a factor at all.
I wonder if, 'cause I truly think that the desire, and I think of St. Petersburg as a town, like St. Petersburg, ahead of Tampa, is a very walkable and more residential-centric downtown. And I think that people think that the formula for it is if you're going to have some sort of residential tower, the formula for making it walkable is to put things that will bring bodies down there, and that's the whole idea of, I think, retail on the ground level, and then the residential above it. I think they want some sort of walk, and I think formulaically that's just the way you do it, kind of thing. But I look at like the development that's right across from the Bayshore Publix, where Bayshore and Platt hit. Yeah. Right there. They built a very nice tower across from that Publix. They have all this retail space underneath it, and you can hear crickets chirping when you walk by it because no one wants to be inside of there. The last person I saw leasing inside of there was the Florida Republican Party around the time of the presidential election, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get a sweetheart of a deal on a short-term lease because it was a seasonal lease.
I wouldn't consider that place very walkable either. It's an extremely busy intersection.
Oh, yeah.
We used to live down there, so it's very, very busy.
What is your real estate practice like in Colliers? What do you do?
Brokerage, retail brokerage.
Retail? Okay.
Yeah. Shopping
So
centers.
what do you think about this?
I hope you enjoyed listening just as much as we did. Thank you again to everyone that participated and shared information. It was a blast, as I'm sure you can tell. If you have any commercial real estate questions or comments, you can email me directly at jdervech@dervechre.com or go to dervech-real-estate.com. Don't forget to follow Dervech Real Estate on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram for the latest in commercial real estate news. Last but not least, don't forget to smile and be nice to others. Have a great one.